In the last 2 decades, global biological information has rapidly expanded due to the opportunistic data which volunteers usually collect with smartphone application software and with the professional curated biodiversity databases such as DVIF. The avalanche of global biological information requires an analysis that evaluates and improves species data occurrence quality. Essential for conservation biogeography is species distribution modelings, or SDMs, and the management of policies for biodiversity and ecosystem services. Several R-based packages have developed methods to process the species occurrence data. The software wallet combines CRAN packages in a workflow that processes occurrences and combined with environmental layers to project species suitability maps. Others, such as MassRanger, improve estimates of species current ranges by using expert and in-situ observation with environmental tolerances or competitive interactions. The GeoBond combines some of these efforts into essential biodiversity variables to provide the first level of abstraction between low-level primary observation and high-level biodiversity. A framework that evaluates the georeference error of big and not well-defined occurrence records can support those softwares to better allocate a species in a grid between multiple alternatives. This requires the development of techniques that successfully determine, visualize, and integrate uncertainty to cope with geographical information complexities due to the overrepresentation of certain areas, Baker-Pollard georeference records, and the doubtful assignment of spatial uncertainty. Such framework can additionally support the estimation of the IUCN Red List Criterion B metrics, the extent of occurrence, EOO, and the area of occupancy, AOO, to represent the degree to which risks from threatening factors are spread especially across the tax's geographical distribution. Hence, we developed occUncertain, an R-based package that contains 3 functions to recreate a species occurrence points information with associated uncertainty, to contain all possible occurrences, and to identify the discrepancies between georeference data and uncertainty intended to express. The first function contains 2 equations that transform the meters of uncertainty into decimal degrees from given decimal latitude and longitude, accounting for the Earth's slightly ellipsoidal shape. To deal with absent uncertainty, we provided 3 arguments. Interpolation replaces the missing values for the mean uncertainty. Naivete assumes records to be correct or zero uncertain, and censorship avoids such records and reduces the sample size using the assessment. The second function generates new random location for each occurrences using a uniform distribution with a defined location and uncertainty interval. And the third function generates iterations of new occurrence datasets in which the occurrence locations were allowed to vary within the bounds of their assigned uncertainty to calculate the metrics. The case study investigates whether a species occurrence, location uncertainty, and the sample size affect the ecological indicator metrics in 3 non-exclusive datasets, Ecuador, Colombia, and the Tumbes-Chocó Magdalena, or TCM. The 3 datasets have different levels of uncertainty and the proportion of absent uncertainty attributes. However, they have similar mean uncertainty emitters, representing approximately 1/4 of the degree. We explore 4 related questions by comparing the effects of occurrence georeference uncertainty to the traditionally observed spatial metrics measures with a statistical test. Georeference vagueness may represent a probability for the IUCN Criterion B spatial metrics to expand or shrink. So does accounting for positional vagueness in the EOO and the AOO result in a statistically significant different estimates to the observed estimates? Yes. The histogram suggests that vague positional occurrences increase estimates, potentially reporting the upper bounds of the EOO and the AOO. Overall, the results were statistically significant different from observed estimates that did not account for it, thus portraying the lower bounds. Do different approaches that assume some or all records to be vague increases the EO and the AO? Yes, both interpolation and naivete approaches increases the estimates. However, interpolation AO estimates were incredibly high in TCM and Colombia scenarios, with an almost non-existent probability of occurring. The results suggest that using vagueness jitters occurrences occupy more grids in the calculation of the AO, which can double the conservation areas compared to the geographic ranges. Does removing records with an uncertainty attribute reduces EO and the AO? Yes, the censorship approach has the lowest estimates in all scenarios. However, the lack of uncertainty attributes does not have to be a reason to discard the data automatically, because accuracy assessments with small sample sizes could lead to erroneous measures. Decreasing the sample size used to calculate the metrics reduces the power to quantify a result replicating an accurate picture of the species spread. Does positional vagueness have a common effect in the EO and AO regardless of the number of iteration samples? Yes, using 100 or 1,000 iteration samples, they result in similar estimated patterns. In conclusion, the results suggest that to assess the species occurrence points, the student should have a precautionary but realistic attitude to uncertainty.